or trying to play him as an 8, and then they're like scratching their head with their arms crossed, like, what the fuck's going on? You bought the wrong people.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, you bought the wrong people. Havertz can assist 20 times in Bundesliga. It's Bundesliga. 2, he's been to that team for 3 years. And, those are all the players he's been playing with.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't translate how you want it to, but that we're looking at numbers, not players.
But I see where the manager definitely has a say, and they should be the ones that say, like, that's a player that I want, right? So if they say that they want that player and the player doesn't work out, then that's on the manager, right? Mm-hmm. But the actual fee itself has to do with the board. So it's like Havertz was not 90 million, in my opinion. He had some decent seasons in Bundesliga. He's a young player. I get it. Maybe 60 million would have been sufficient.
40,
right?
45 seems about right.
Yeah. But like 90 million for a kid who really isn't. I don't think he even played Champions League.
No, I don't think he ever has.
Yeah, and so it's the same thing with United. Ollie might have said, "Yeah, I want Harry Maguire to be my center back." Right? It is not Ollie's fault that United had to pay 80 million. Like with this is the thing with Ed Woodward and it's becoming a joke now. He says, like, a team says, we want this much money. So, like, originally it was 70 million for Maguire, and then United were like, no, we don't want to pay that. And then Leicester were like, okay, that's fine, whatever. Then United come back and like, okay, we'll pay you 70 million. Then Leicester were like, well, now we want 75 million. And then United are like, no, we're not going to pay you 75 million. We'll give you 70. They're like 75. Then United come back and like, okay, we'll give you 75. And then it keeps going up, and that's exactly what happened with Bruno. Mm-hmm. It was like, this is the fee that we want. You pay it or you don't get him. They're like, we're not going to pay him. Then United are like, okay, we'll pay it. And then they're like, no, we want a little bit more. And like, I don't think that's on the manager. That has to be on your board of directors and your financial people to make sure that whatever the deal is, you got to get that done. Now, if the manager says, I want this player, and it doesn't work out, obviously, like right now, it is not working out for Frank Lampard with all the players that he bought. That is all on him, right? Because he's like, I want these players. Mm-hmm. But the price of the players is not on Frank Lampard.
No, but the thing is, Havertz was always going to be a high price.
Yeah.
No matter between 60
yeah, I mean when
between
it's
60 to 80, wherever you want to put it, it's always going to be more than 40 to 50.
Yeah.
He could have spent 40 to 50 and bought 2 decent, unrecognized but still noticeable 8s out there to play in his system, as opposed to 110 that cost
the same as
100,000.
I agree.
100 million. So
I think the reason why
I think Lampard was the wrong person to have a checkbook that fat.
Oh yeah, especially after not having not in quotations,
right,
not having a transfer for 2 years
and playing kids too. I mean, yeah, I know.
Like,
I mean, he was obviously like foaming at the mouth trying to get to that money.
I think why Havertz he
spent it so wrong.
I think a reason why Havertz was so much though, and like Chelsea were just like, yeah, fine, whatever, was because they got Werner for his cut price deal on his buyout. I think if they had to pay like 60
we'll
for
spend
Werner,
the surplus on Havertz if need be.
Yeah, we'll pay the. I think that's kind of what happened with there, because usually Chelsea are fairly good with their money. It's very rare that Chelsea waste money. The only time I can really think that they wasted money was Fernando Torres.
Morata.
But they got all the money back from Morata.
Oh, okay, but I mean, purchasing though, like say they didn't.
Yeah. Like
if they say they don't make say Havertz flops in a year, and they sell him for 30.
Yeah, they definitely have made mistakes, but like usually they get that player who they've bought for a lot of money out in time to where they can recoup most of their money back.
Yeah, we sold Sanchez for how much?
We didn't sell him. We bought out the rest of his contract so he could leave for free.
Okay.
But we also got him technically for free because we just gave him Mkhitaryan. So it was like kind of. But then if you think about it, we paid $35 million for Mkhitaryan. So if you want to do the math that way,
I always liked Mkhitaryan. Dude, this is my problem with Mkhitaryan when he was there. It's like, people were complaining about him not producing. He was playing between 3 different positions week in, week out.
Yeah.
Mourinho
was just shitting on him. Yeah. He single-handedly got United all the way through Europa League, and the whole time the next season Mourinho was like, yeah, he's not good enough.
I could never find him on the field because he was always playing a different position. Like he was 7 one week, 10 the next, and 11 after that. Like it's how can he be consistent?
And this is the thing that worries me, is that if we get Sancho, right? I'm not saying we are. If we get him, that's the third Dortmund player that's come to United in recent years, and will he be the third one to not produce? Because Kagawa came in, I think that was kind of Fergie's fault for not playing them as much, because when he did play, he looked solid, and he got a hat trick one game, I'm pretty sure. But Mkhitaryan came in and he produced for a little while as well, and then he kind of dragged out. I think another major thing is when these players come from foreign leagues into the Premier League, they never have to play that Christmas period. They're off from the beginning of December to like the beginning of January. They've got, I think, 3 or 4 weeks off in the middle of the season. And in the Premier League, you don't. That is when you have the most matches. Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure every league has 4 cups. Well, 3 domestics.
Right.
And then the bigger teams obviously play in the Champions League. So I think it's just that break, because I think, don't Germany start earlier than Premier League? Pretty sure they do.
I believe so, actually. Yeah.
So they're kind of like more spread out. Like I don't know. I just know that all those leagues have that giant block.
It's Germany, and then it's either Spain or France. It's one of those two. Yeah, 2 of them do it.
But I know that all of them have that block around December where they have off, and then whenever a player comes from a foreign league and is playing in the Premier League, the first half of the season they'll destroy it, and then they'll do well up until that point, and then afterwards their numbers won't be nearly as good as it was the first time for that first season, and maybe the second season.
I never noticed.
It's kind of, obviously I don't have the stats in front of me, but if you go back and you look at certain players who've come in and you see them do well, and then you see the break, and then or you see them playing through that break that they usually have, and then afterwards their numbers drop. So I think that's going to be another major thing for some of these newer players coming in. Maybe sometimes it might help a player. Like if Werner played throughout all those games, was actually kind of scoring, that might have helped him kick on for the rest of the season. But obviously he wasn't scoring. But like Thiago, well, he's been injured the whole season. I can't think of a major player. Maybe Tottenham basically just bought all Premier League players.
I'm besides myself trying to think about RB Leipzig's system and how Werner was successful in there, and he comes to
Chelsea, yeah,
a team with as good of players. Like you can't tell me that like.
I'd argue that Chelsea have better players, individual players, but they don't play as well as a unit as Leipzig. Yeah,
they're more balanced.
But they also have a head coach who, like, not saying that Frank Lampard doesn't know his shit, but like, you know, seems more tactically inept than Nagelsmann.
Lampard does.
Yeah.
You think?
Oh yeah. I think if Nagelsmann, like,
this is what I like about Nagelsmann. I like how he can start Campbell at holding mid one game and he wins, and then he starts Adams the next game in the same position and he wins. I like how across the board every one of his players can play in whatever position he puts him in.
Yeah.
So whether or not that's him or just who he's picking up,
I think it's also like, but if you watch. Like, I watched Dortmund and Leipzig play 2 weeks ago, right?
Uh-huh.
And I watched the first half, and Leipzig were all over them. And then in the second half, Dortmund, like, Haaland just all of a sudden was like, yeah, I'm gonna play now in the second half. So
Haaland's world class,
dude. It's not even fair how much better he is than nearly everyone on the field.
Yeah.
Like, it's not even, for the size he is, the speed he has, the strength he has. He made Upamecano look like a child.
He's a fucking Viking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was... Oh, dude, when you see him start taking off, it's like kind of slow at first, then all of a sudden it's just like turbo. Mm-hmm. It is so insane.
Dude, I think Norway's about to have a really good national team.
Odegaard, Sander Berg.
Have you seen him in Milan?
Mm-mm.
Bro, Milan's got these fucking
Milan
kid wingers.
So dude.
All right, so so they've got these 2 kid wingers right now, right? On the left, they've got Peter Hauge, Hauge, right? Plays left wing fast as fuck. This Norwegian kid. On the right, they've got the up-and-coming Belgian wonder kid, Salamakers. Mm-hmm. Playing them both, like, on the wings. Yeah, dude, it's... And then Ibra's, like, playing like a false, you know.
Just doing whatever Ibra wants, really.
I think Norway's about that. Sander Berg,
Odegaard,
Vestergaard. I mean, they've got a decent side coming through. And then there's...
Are they in the Euros? Did they get to the Euros? I can't remember if they did.
I'm not sure. They should have. And then they've got a really good center mid playing at...
What's Højbjerg? Is he He's Danish.
He's Danish. Yeah. They've got a good side coming up too. Actually, the whole what do you call it? What do you call it? Like Norway, Finland. What are those called again?
Scandinavian
countries. They all have like really good up and coming teams. Surprisingly,
the Scandinavian countries always kind of have decent players, but they never.
They don't have a league. They don't have a league for like, you know what I mean? Like all their players are going to be scattered across Europe.
Yeah, but like the national teams can't really seem to like mesh together. But who do you think is going down this year? I think the bottom three that are in right now are the three that are going down. I think it's definitely Sheffield. Sheffield.
They don't have a prayer.
And for fantasy, if you are playing a team, if you have a team that's playing Sheffield, just try and get their defenders if you need points, or you're switching out defenders. West Brom might have a chance depending on injuries and stuff for them, but I don't see, now that Burnley have Tarkowski and me back, and after just beating Liverpool, I don't see them going down.
I've seen a lot of teams put on worse performances than West Brom this year.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that West Brom is like honestly, a decent team,
but
I think that they just can't get it. When your center mid is scoring the most goals.
Yeah.
But you're up in the box. You know what I mean? It's not like they can't get up there, they can't create chances, but they're not putting them away. Grant was supposed to be a lot better pickup than what he has been so far. He had decent numbers last year, like for a striker, but Billis tried to play him out on the wing. I think Pereira was hurt for a little bit.
Yeah. They haven't had like a fully, totally fit first 11 for almost the entire season.
I think they survive. I think they'll be okay.
I like Fulham have been playing a lot better too recently. So I think the only thing that fucks the two of them over is that they're already like Fulham are 5 points behind Brighton, which I guess isn't that bad, and West Brom are 6 points behind. So they're not too far behind, but
it's still a
one
tight
or two more. Like if one of them was to lose to Brighton, you've got a really, really steep hill to climb there. But I mean, Newcastle could go down. Wolves, potentially. If they don't pick their shit up. I think Leeds have been found out by most teams. I think that Leeds get wins and draws because they're outworking the other team. I've said this all season.
I agree. I don't think teams necessarily beat Leeds as much as Leeds does not
convert their own chances. Because I saw a stat earlier today.
Yeah,
that like they were fifth most. Like United had the most shots on target, then it's City, then Liverpool, I think Chelsea, and then Leeds.
That's what I was talking about with Harrison earlier. Like he's not short of chances, any of them, and you gotta. This is what's so weird about these
Patrick
teams.
Bamford the ball, bro.
If you look at what happened, who was the other team that came up last year? It was Norwich, Villa, and who was the other one that came up?
Norwich, Villa,
Sheffield.
Yeah.
All right, so. Sheffield's actually in this mix too. These three teams in particular have had a massive overhaul, and it's West Brom, Fulham, and Sheffield this season in particular. Yeah. They've had a massive, and I've said this, of transfers, and you get all these good ass players coming in that don't know this system, and you say, oh, he plays right back somewhere, he can play right back here, dude. The system and like your duties in a system are much more imperative than just the same position.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when you're coming in, when you got like Kenny Tete coming into Fulham, he's not playing the same right back he was playing at Olympique Lyon because he doesn't have Toussaint and Bruno Guimaraes in front of him.
Yeah,
he's got Anguissa.
Yeah,
so
or Lookman.
Yeah, and so it's completely different.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, like Fulham, I think they're going to yo-yo for 1 or 2 more years, and then they'll finally have enough solid players that they'll be able to stay up.
If they don't stay up this year, they'll have to sell their players because the players they brought in to play in the Premier League are not going to stay.
Yeah,
they're not.
Loftus-Cheek is going to go back there.
Yeah, and that's seven or eight of their players.
It's kind of what happened to them 2 years ago. I mean, they brought in Schürrle, they brought in is it Sarri, the guy from Nigeria?
Sorry,
I think it's Sarri. Seri, S-E-R-I.
Yeah, the center mid. Yeah.
Him.
This is Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast? Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was Nigeria. But they brought in all these players, and they have to sell them all. But that's also the thing with these like lower, I don't want to say lower division teams, like less. They don't have as much revenue as the big teams. Whenever they come up into the Premier League, Like Norwich last year, they didn't really add anyone or take anyone